Welcome back to Real Estate Wisdom Podcast. I'm your host, Vishal Kapoor, Realtor, and we will keep continuing talking to our real estate lawyer, Diane Ulman, because last time we were not able to finish all that stuff. She's here. Its recording happened the same day, but you're going to watch more about real estate lawyers. So now moving on to our next one after the transaction is what legal responsibility do buyers and sellers have after the transaction is complete, include any post-closing obligations?
Okay. Yeah, post-closing obligations, kind of a shorter list. So in a good way, in a shorter list. Right. So contractual obligations on the seller's side, we're talking about closing out the utility bills, paying final bills, doing those types of things. Our office, we certainly notify the municipality to let them know that there was a transfer of title involved and provide the contact information for the buyer and the buyer's lawyer. So that's talking about property tax. But real estate lawyer, we're not able to call up the hydro company and Bell Canada for internet and all that stuff. We can't make those changes to those accounts.
But I remember you provide a great service, which is called the move-in.
I wish they were still in business.
Oh yeah, they got into business.
Yes, it was a fabulous service. But
yeah, I think I utilized that services before initially as well, but that was like a reminder, and also like the good. Good realtor also keeping that you inform about those timelines when you should be doing those things.
Yes.
I have a lot of time it happens that people have no idea that they're supposed to move their utilities until the
You don't want to move in and all of a sudden you call up the internet provider.
That's right.
And their first available installation appointment isn't for 2 weeks. We're in a world where you need Wi-Fi. So there are definitely some things that your realtor can give you a heads up on timelines on who to reach out to and when. And that's very extremely helpful.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And that's all, and the information and knowing those timelines is so important and crucial, because buyer, especially the buyers, they overwhelm, in the first-time home buyers because they don't know.
Yeah.
Even the second-time buying, so many times, we forget about things, right?
Yes.
But having that second reminder and knowing those, when what's happening, it will become much easier. So that's why I like the system and process in place.
Right.
I put in there so they get the notification. So in that way they know that they have to do.
Yes.
Still they have to do it.
Yes.
But it can help.
Yes. If I can add one thing to that, because from especially first-time home buyers, I absolutely appreciate that it's the first go around. You don't know what's normal. You don't know what's a long timeline, what's a short timeline. So that's something that my office, we try and reach out to the first-time home buyers with an email saying, congratulations on your purchase. Here's what we need from you right now to get your file going. But also, you're not going to hear from us until about two weeks before you're closing.
Right.
And that silence doesn't mean there's anything wrong. There's just not a lot to be done in that time frame. So if you have a closing date that's 2 months away, that I would say for most people, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm moving in 2 months. That's a really short amount of time. From a real estate agent side, from a real estate lawyer side, that's a humongous time horizon.
Yeah.
So all of the searches, a lot of the action is happening in that last 2 weeks. So just know that if your lawyer is reaching out to you a week, 10 days, 2 weeks before closing, it's not that the file has been overlooked. That's just when we've received your mortgage documents from your bank. That's just when everything kind of all comes together. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Definitely the great lawyers like you, they always keep the people informed. Your office keep them informed.
Try
and
our
everything.
best.
Right.
Yes.
But I have the curiosity. I know this answer, but at the same time, people wants to probably know why the title search date is 15 days before closing, not 20 days, not a month, not 10 days. Why it's 15 days?
Oh, so 15 days is arbitrary.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you as the realtor could choose any title search date you'd like.
Right.
I would recommend it's 1 to 2 weeks before the closing. The reason for that, and the reason 2 weeks, 15 days is generally selected, is because if I'm, for instance, if I am on the purchaser side, I want to be doing my searches as close to the closing date as possible, because I want all of my searches to be relevant and up to date and current.
Exactly.
If I did my title searches 2 months before the closing, I almost feel obligated to redo all the searches, and that just incurs more search costs.
For sure, like, because anything can happen in the last moment,
exactly.
Right? They probably took the loan or, didn't pay any dues.
Yes, but also there's an opportunity. If I did the searches now and the closing isn't for another 2 months, like the actual move-in day isn't for another 2 months from now, surprise liens could be registered in the meantime. So that's the worst case scenario, and that's why the searches are done about 2 weeks before. From the seller side, why 2 weeks is kind of a good amount of time is because if something's discovered, say there's a lien against my selling my seller's personal name. There's a judgment against them for an outstanding debt to a credit card company.
Right.
There are certain types of debts that we must pay out on closing. Some we can address differently, but point is we need enough time. So if those title search dates were just, say, 2 days before the closing date and something comes up that needs to be addressed, there's just not enough time to deal with it. So the 2 weeks, 15 days is kind of a sweet spot. So there's enough time, but all the searches are still current. Yeah.
Well, that's answered my question and the curiosity about that particular timeline.
Good.
Now, when we're talking about, there's one thing about role of a real estate trust account and how they protect both parties in real estate transaction.
Mm-hmm.
So can you put some light on it?
Yes.
What's the importance of that?
Yes. So any real estate lawyer's office, we've got at least two bank accounts.
Right.
One is just our general operating account that pays for our overhead, our rent, our whatever. But then there's a special account called our trust account. That is where all of the mortgage money goes that we receive from banks. That is where our clients who are the purchasers come in with the extra money that they need, that we need to close their deal. That's where all that money goes. Basically, it's a holding account that says this is not Integris Law's money. This is our client's money or the bank's money. So it's held separate and apart from our just general operating account.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how it will protect the buyers and sellers, and what are the scenarios can happen that can protect them?
Yes. So that account is insured. So in the unlikely scenario, but there are scenarios where trust funds disappear.
Yeah.
Basically, the lawyer involved has stolen money. Like, there's kind of no two ways about it.
Right.
That the clients whose money it was, or the bank or whatever, that money is protected. It is covered by insurance, and it's just more clear on what losses are the client has incurred. Yeah.
Well, that's, I guess, like the more workout, the mediocre between when all the transactions happening, all the funds going in one account, and going on that. I know, like, recently I was dealing with the separation issue, and in that one also it happens because they had the lawyers, because the family lawyers, because they're dealing with that, but then they want the third lawyer over there to hold the real estate transaction deal with.
Yes.
So in that case, like, so they get protected. So there's no biases, and the money will disperse based on the, I think, what the family law or the court is telling them how to disperse.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So I have absolutely been involved in those types of files where I was the third lawyer involved.
Right.
Because there are actually many situations where the family law lawyers are just specialized in family law, and they are not insured to do real estate.
Right.
So there are situations where they absolutely need to bring in another lawyer. In some of the files that I've been involved in, yes, I was the real estate lawyer on the file. I was receiving instructions from the family law lawyers and the respective spouses, the respective clients, on, at the end of the day, the net proceeds, so the profit from the sale of the home, how they're supposed to be distributed. And it just ensures that in family law disputes, that the right parties are getting the right amount of money, because not always is it 50-50 to the two spouses. Sometimes one spouse is getting more or less, just depending on other factors involved in the separation or divorce.
Got it. Perfect. Are there any potential legal disputes or issues that can arise after the sale, and how can they be resolved?
Right. So after closing issues, number one, depends on the scope of the problem. Are we talking about an appliance that doesn't work, or are we talking about a hidden material defect where there's a big crack in the foundation? So worlds apart on the importance of what this post-closing issue is.
Right.
Some typical post-closing issues that I see as much as we try to avoid them, they're common, but they're easily resolved, are adjustments, post-closing adjustments. So as part of the closing, the purchaser and the seller either get a credit for, say, property taxes, because property tax payments are not perfectly aligned with closing dates, so there are certain adjustments that are made. So a typical example is post-closing, the original seller, the municipality takes out an extra installment from their account because the seller was on automatic payments and didn't close the account. So in that situation, generally, it's a few emails back and forth between the two real estate lawyers saying, hey, please get your purchaser to reimburse my client because they got charged post-closing. Easy stuff. Talking about things that are defective or broken. Oftentimes in the agreement of purchase and sale, we see terms that say the appliances need to be in good working order on closing. Right. Yeah. So let's talk about that. Oh my goodness,
that's my favorite one.
Right? Did the stove work on closing day? Yes.
Yes.
Did the stove break one day later? Yes. It's the purchaser's responsibility.
My favorite one is after a week, I haven't used the stove from last week. I just tried it and tested it. And usually what happens, that's why I recommend my clients to go one day before closing, to go there and check those things out. So in that way, you're aware of if anything's there, you can inform your lawyer to hold that money. Even it's not written on your APS. And a lot of times say, it need to be written on APS that you're going to hold this money.
Yes.
But if you find out, if it's one of the burners not working on your stove, and it was saying a good working order, that doesn't mean it was a good working order.
Right.
I remember it was at least one, but it's applied to similar to that, the working order, the light was not working in the fridge. And agent keep on arguing that, no, it's working. Fridge is working. And fridge light is not working. Fridge is working. Fridge light is not working. And it's very inconvenient. No, fridge is working. He keep on admin on that. So something like that, it happens. What's the process and what's the right way to it? What we can do something about it, what we cannot do anything about it.
So I am totally with you. And I appreciate that with your clients that you go to the property and do one of your final visits, like a day before the closing, so very close to the closing. You want to be going into the home, turn on the appliances, make sure they work. That I feel like that is the main area of contention. That is when you want to know that something doesn't work or isn't in good working order.
Yeah.
That is when the purchaser and the purchaser's lawyer, that's when we have the leverage to be able to get it fixed and or get a small payment adjustment. So we're not talking about, this isn't an opportunity to renegotiate the whole contract. This isn't that. We're just, our example with a stove, for instance. Do we do a quick holdback, $300, $500? You kind of pick a number that's reasonable, that either gives the opportunity for the sellers to get a repair person to come in and make the repair, or the purchaser says, I'll take that $500, I'll get my own repair person to come in. Problem solved.
Oh, right? This is this great time. I'm just telling you the one of the story.
Yeah.
It was my own listing over here, and and came over because that time was a crazy time. Nobody was putting any clauses.
Right.
The thing was working.
Yes.
Until they and after 2 or 3 days before, stop probably working. And not every time using 4 burners, right? So it's like one. And they didn't come for any. They never the home inspection, but they never come for buyer's visit.
Okay.
None of them.
Yes.
Very next day after the closing, or even the same day, they come and they're saying that, that was not working.
Right.
I need to get that fixed. And I don't think so, but you can reach out to your lawyer. Let the lawyer deal with it.
Right.
But yeah. So in that scenario.
So yes, if the deal is closed, the title has transferred, the buyer will now have to sue the seller in small claims court. So talk about a hassle. So that's why you want to discover these, I'm going to call them annoyances, because we're talking about something that's not quite working 100%. That's when you need to know. You need to know before closing. That's when there's leverage involved from the buyer's lawyer to actually get a result, get something done.
Right.
Because after closing, you're talking about small claims court if it's damages or repairs under $35,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. That's great. We're talking about the mistakes now. So, what are some common legal mistakes that buyers and sellers often make in real estate transaction? How can they avoid them? Are there any, red flags or warning signs and that buyers and sellers should watch for during the transaction process? I know it's a very loaded question because it can be different scenarios, right?
Yes. It's a very broad question.
It is a broad question. But let me narrow down, and I'll try to narrow down. So in that way, it helps. For example, a lot of time it happens, people looking into you getting the cash deal, right? And they get tempted to sell that property. Why they should be cautious about that?
So some stranger basically knocks on the door and said, "I'll buy your house for cash."
Yeah.
You as a homeowner, do you truly know the value of your home? Like, you might be underselling. You may be leaving money on the table.
Yeah. The other aspect,
yes.
sorry to interrupt you on that. The aspect of that, because there's a lot of money laundering happening, which probably came across as well. There was a news, I think was Oriya interview of Tim Hudak, like I was mentioning about like at Vancouver and everything. In last 5-10 years, we have like tens and billions of dollars being money laundered.
Yes.
So those kind of scenarios are looking into that. What should be like the red signs for those? I know as a realtor, when we're looking at the offer, we're asking about the financing, everything, but we have only limited resources.
Yes.
As a buyer agent, yes, we do the ID check, FinTrack ID, but also now it's getting more and more, which we don't have resources to check all those ones. But those are some common. What are the red signal as a lawyer, which you can recommend us to do?
Right.
To watch for.
So, in situations where it's a purely cash deal, there are families that are fortunate enough where they are able to purchase properties with cash.
Right.
It happens. We have those clients. We close them often. There's no issue. There's no money laundering. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's just right.
So how does a lawyer try and identify money laundering? It is extremely difficult. Lawyers in Ontario, we actually don't have an obligation to fill out FinTrack forms like realtors do.
Right.
So FinTrack, I actually don't know the full name of the acronym, but basically it's additional forms that you as the agents need to fill out to kind of confirm who your client is and where their source of funds are coming from.
Correct.
If I'm representing the buyer, my buyer deposits all of the cash into my trust account. There aren't a lot of obligations for a lawyer to ask questions of where did that money come from? How long has it been in the country? What were the sources? Did you already pay income tax on it? Like, those are not questions a real estate lawyer is responsible for. So representing the buyer really would be quite difficult for us to identify money laundering situations.
Even you're like the buyer lawyer or the seller lawyer?
This is if I'm the buying lawyer, so
Okay,
I'm receiving all the money, the cash. I'm receiving the cash from my buying client.
Right.
It's difficult. And then from the seller's lawyer side, you're even more in the dark because even in a traditional deal, the selling lawyer doesn't know where the buying lawyer money. They don't know if there's a mortgage involved, or if it's a private mortgage or an institutional mortgage from one of the big banks, or if it's a cash deal. They generally it's not their concern, I guess, is the point. So yeah, money laundering is a big one. That is, I think, above our pay grade, where it's more of a provincial federal policy decision and enforcement. It's not something I think you and I on the ground to deal with.
And that's why I'm trying to find out who can be, because they putting so much pressure, not pressure, rules and regulations, what we have to do, how to identify them. We have tools in the apps came out, you can scan the card so it can come in.
Yes.
That's fine. But still, that's not enough with it, how the technology and everything is moving.
Right.
We're not moving fast enough in order to do that. Well, that's remind me the one of the case happened between the lawyers, and lawyers got in a difficult situation when we're talking about the trust account. So this was the funds being transferred. It was a bank draft or something, and it didn't go to the trust account. But something was happening that lawyer put from his account, they transferred the money to the seller. Transaction happened and turned out the money was not even legit.
Okay, so to elaborate on that, when I
do you know that case?
Not specifically, but just the ideas of certain bank instruments, a bank draft, a certified check not clearing in time.
Right.
That is absolutely a risk.
Right.
What I would say is, just to kind of elaborate on what I'm considering a cash deal, if I'm representing the buyer,
right,
they're not showing up with a suitcase full of cash that I'm counting out.
That's right.
There are actually Law Society rules where if we receive, I believe it's more than $10,000,
that's right,
then we need to make certain declarations why we're receiving so much in cash. So that's the only opportunity for the lawyer to be asking, where did this cash come from?
Right.
But if my client is wiring funds to me or providing a bank draft, I'm not asking those follow-up questions. So I would say that possible risks are if the receiving lawyer is receiving a wire from overseas and not from a Canadian bank account.
Right.
Then there's risk there of money laundering. But it's kind of interesting. So to your point, that is more like just a case of fraud.
It is,
where the client is providing a bank draft right before the day before the closing. The deal closes the next day, and then the bank draft, it basically becomes a bounce check.
Yeah.
So that money was never in the lawyer's trust account to begin with because the check didn't clear. So ways to prevent that from the lawyer's side are receiving wires instead. They're a little bit more instantaneous.
Yeah.
Money's confirmed, certified checks, bank drafts.
Yeah, so just to know, when she and said about the cash transaction just doesn't mean the getting in with the suitcase, just like a show on those Hollywood and Bollywood movies, right? The cash transactions happening, and that's not the case. It's more about still going the trail. It's going from the bank, it's coming from the account, where that funds came out from there, and that's what the bank's responsibility as well. I believe that's what they're going to look into, where the money coming from, and that's why they hold it sometimes 60 to 90 days if it's coming from the foreign money coming in their account to do the due diligence where it's coming from.
Yes.
But that's a protection which you can do. There's no foolproof things, but yes, keep your eye open, and if is what they say, if it's if it look like a shit, smell like a shit, it's definitely a shit. Right? So I know, sorry, the wrong example, but at the same time, I say like that's the thing. If you have the intuition about like if something is not right,
yes,
no harm in double checking that, right?
Yes.
So double check that thing. Now we're talking about like some real life experience. So I want to hear from you. What was your real difficult life situation where you unrevealed something, in a successful real estate transaction, like it happens after that?
Sorry, can we restart that question?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Yeah,
what are you...
So can you share any real life examples or case studies where your legal expertise played a crucial role in successful real estate transaction?
Okay. Yes. So there are situations, and I'm foreseeing this becoming a typical situation in the coming, I would say, year to 18 months, where purchasers involved, their financing is going to come through, and they're going to be asking for extensions from the seller.
Right.
So they can get additional financing, alternate financing, whatever. Right. You as the seller, you do have the ability to say, you're in breach of contract, I'm not giving you an extension, and you have the opportunity to relist your home, and you may be selling it less now than you did, a month ago or 2 months ago, and you could sue that purchaser for the difference. But how do I protect my selling client in that situation where an extension is requested? Are they requesting an extension of just a week? That's pretty reasonable to try and find alternate financing.
Right.
If there's a question of if this purchaser is ever going to be able to close this deal, or if they're just dragging this out,
right,
and really my seller just needs to get the house back on the market and just get going, that comes down to the experience and the expertise of the real estate lawyers involved.
Yes.
To kind of, to suss out, does the reason for the extension make sense?
Yeah.
It's talking to the purchaser's lawyer. Of course, they are representing their purchaser. That is their obligation, just as my obligation is representing my seller. But the real estate industry of lawyers is quite small. Yeah. It is very helpful to know your colleagues in the industry.
Networking always works.
Yes, but even just relationship management, just understanding, who the other law office is. Have you dealt with challenging files in the past, and it was eventually successful? So some of the practical things that can be done is my selling client decides, okay, I'll give them an extension of 1 or 2 weeks, but that's it. Ask for an additional deposit from that purchaser. Have them add...
I do remember now. Yes. We did that transaction.
Yes.
Right?
Ask them to get more skin in the game.
Yes.
It could be something nominal. It could just be, say, $5,000. Because if they're having difficulty getting financing, I understand they're not going to have $20,000 in cash just on the side ready to provide as an additional deposit. But test their intention, test their goodwill. So that's kind of the key features. And yes, it was one of our files, but ultimately it closed.
Yes, it did. It did. And that's it. Like, all most of the difficult ones. It's how you negotiate, how you talk to them, and trying to find out. Sometimes you're not getting the right information from the other side, but that's your job. Right, to finding out, and those signals and everything, because I remember on this property, now I remember completely, there was a crazy time when the selling happened. I have around 35 offers on that particular property. And the thing that last 3 offers were pretty close to each other.
Yeah.
And now my seller was looking for everything because he wanted to close a closing. That was one criteria. Money, definitely, because he was retiring and so dispersing money and everything. And those are the 2 criteria he had. There was no conditions was putting anyway. Nobody. It was the bungalow. Right. So there was nothing there. We did the on that one, the pre-inspection to just make sure there's nothing come out after with a smooth transaction. But so what happened is this. We agreed to take less money because of the closing was closer. My seller said like, yeah, it's 15,000. Don't worry, I don't care. I want the closing first. So we did that. The other agent got upset because he was paying more money. But this one over here said, yeah, we'll do whatever date you want.
Yep.
You know,
Quicker
this is what the
close.
money doing, quicker
Yep.
close, and fine. And looking to them like, are you sure? They approve refinancing. Hi, yeah. He's he's an investor. He always had the funds, and we'll do it. Guess what? Even at the investors and looking into that, that's what happened. A week before, they came back and said, we have to extend. I said, we don't have to extend. Market is pretty hot. It could have been like, because it's a risk. Even the market is hard, like it changed overnight. So even for the seller, I could have go like we can get more money or go to the previous other offer and that can go. But like what we decided to give the benefit of doubt, and then he asking for a week extension, I believe. And a week extension, we asked for $5,000.
Right.
And once they able to propose that, like, we had the quick discussion and we end up closing the deal. He got the private financing. And even I was there, like when they bring the appraisal over there, the private financing guy came in and they want to see. And it's like, yeah, I want to be there. And they allow me to be there.
Good.
When I hear the conversation, I'm like, yeah, that looks okay.
Yeah.
That's good. So things like those difficult situations, those layered life scenarios, I can think like we can write a book about all different situations and that stuff. So, which is great. Now coming to what changes or updates in real estate laws or regulations should buyers and sellers be aware of in our local area, like in GTA we're talking about? And how can individuals choose the right real estate lawyer to represent them in transaction, right? That's the second question. But the first one over here, any rules and regulations which are coming out which you think we should be aware of?
Not significant rule changes, but again, just to touch upon any tenant situations.
Right.
You as the property owner, you really need to know the rules surrounding tenant issues if you're wanting to sell the property.
Right.
So that's kind of an ongoing issue. And then just kind of changes in the industry. There is a significant push, and as of January 1st this coming year, there will be much more stringent ID verification requirements.
Right.
Mostly it has to do with being able to qualify for title insurance and get those title insurance policies. So I would just expect that your real estate lawyer will be asking for a lot more ID and backup information and most likely sending you links where you're doing kind of the virtual ID verification where it takes a picture of your face, it compares it to your driver's license. So it will be a lot more intense when it comes to ID verification, but really, don't you want to know that every party involved, their IDs have been verified and confirmed? I mean, the answer is yes.
Yeah, that's the other question, Kamala, the privacy part as well. A lot of concern about the privacy and privacy law. I know that the brokerages, keep that one over here. Does it get transferred to you as well, those IDs? No, you have to do individual. Everybody who's dealing with the professional, they have to do their own check, I guess, or needed to be provided.
Yes,
right?
yes. So you as a client, if your mortgage broker asks for your ID, your real estate agent asks for your ID, your lawyer asks for your ID, don't think that our coordination is deliberately disjointed. A lot of times, we do want to make sure that the IDs are
it's like a double check. Right?
It's a double check, a triple check every step of the way.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Now coming to my last questions, right? How can individual choose the right real estate lawyer to represent them in transaction? Because I know, a lot of time, people ask me how much they charge.
Right.
But what they should be looking for in terms of choosing the right real estate lawyer.
Right. Okay. So a couple of things. Is price a concern for everybody? Absolutely. Absolutely. Sure. I price shop, of course. We all do.
Yes.
I would suggest, regardless of when you call around and you talk to lawyers, there are different ways, different pricing structures.
Yeah.
So some law offices will have kind of a lower rate, but then they'll say plus disbursements. Disbursements can be, it is multiple hundreds of dollars, can be over $1,000. So what I would say is when you're doing any price comparisons, you ask what are the legal fees and anticipated regular disbursements? What's the all-in cost?
Right.
Because then you're comparing apples to apples. Our office, we do a flat fee pricing, so we kind of bundle all of those disbursements together. So yeah, if you were just to call us up, we would sound more expensive, but we're pretty mid-range.
Right.
I would say as just a general kind of placeholder number when you're talking about budgets, ballpark $2,000. But it certainly it can come in less than that.
Yeah,
but just as a placeholder value, I think that's a safe number. And what do you want to look for, most importantly? How long has that lawyer been a real estate lawyer? And it's not so much about how many years in business has the law firm been in business. It's about the lawyer you're working with.
That's right.
Because that's who's insured on your transaction.
Right.
And are they real estate insured? So that is additional insurance we have to carry when we're doing real estate transactions. How would you know if a particular lawyer has real estate insurance? It's a very easy search to go on the Law Society of Ontario website. They've got a directory of all lawyers. You type in my name and there's a box that just says real estate insured. It says yes. It's that simple. I personally would compare it to, shopping for a doctor. If you've got, a foot problem, are you going to go to a ear, nose, and throat doctor?
That's right.
No.
That's right. Yeah.
So I would steer away from perhaps a lawyer that has, 10 different practice areas.
That's right.
on their website. I mean,
they also do the litigation. They also do the real estate. They also do the corporate and all that stuff.
As long as real estate is, I would say, in their top 2 areas, and it doesn't mean that they only do 2 types of law, but their top 2 business specialties, then it's probably a good way to go. And then, just like I do with pretty much every business I look out for, I'm looking at Google reviews as well.
For sure.
Right?
And you guys have great reviews, and you also be approved by...
Yes. So we're Scott McGilvery approved. We were the original lawyers on their website as like their professional partners. So that's an honor. That's been a couple of years going, and also we've for community votes the past 3 or 4 years running, we've actually been voted number 1 in either Burlington or Oakville, which is also such an honor.
Yeah, that's great, and that's a reason. I'm proud of be associated with somebody like Diane. It's not only she got the awards, but also how she deal with my clients and providing that valuable information at the same time, and always open to. I can pick up my phone and call her anytime if I have with the clause or anything I'm not sure about. So I have the expert advice.
And Vishal, I feel like you're being modest about some of your awards that I see in your office lined up on your windowsill.
Yeah, it's all comes with that. It's if you being transparent about things and you being genuine and authentic, because whole idea over here to provide our clients value and services with integrity, which is most important. And that's why, if you look into our VISH stand for Value, Integrity, Service, and Home Ownership. Actually, one of my coach, David Yunker, if he's watching, from Richard Robbins, he gave me that acronym, VISH, Value, Integrity, Service, and Home Ownership. So I try to abide by that, and make me a more certified. I love my sleep, and I love that how many great relationship which I have built with my clients, because I feel it's my own transaction. I'm selling my own home or buying my first home, and you providing that value with sub-tender care relationship, and you come across a few of them. I said yes, and they say the extension. My team is a part of my extension. The services they getting the same one. We were talking to Tyler last time, and it's exactly the same thing, because this teamwork and coordination works so good. Yes, there are some bad apples, just like any other industry. But most of us, we try to follow the rules and regulations and try to help people. And as a professional, I give them consulting and all that stuff. Well, thank you so much for coming from your busy time and giving us some time for this podcast. We'll definitely plan some episodes with you. We're doing this introductory right now, kind of like more basics, and then we're going to go like more in complex scenario situations, laws change, current market, what's going on, based on that. So keep watching Real Estate Wisdom by Wish. And don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. And also subscribe our social media channels so you can see what's coming and what's been, you can look into like little clips and reels, TikToks, and all that stuff as well. So keep you informed wherever you are. Have a wisdom, have a real estate wisdom. Thank you for watching. Bye for now. Disclaimer. The information provided in this podcast is for informational purpose only and should not be considered as financial or investment advice. Consult with your professional before making any real estate decisions.